Books, the show where I drink hard liquor and talk about books. Today we are talking about The Chain. On every trip to the grocery store, even though I always have a large stack of books ready to go, I can't help but stop by the little book stand and see what might be new. This book jumped out at me, and after reading the back cover, I knew I was going to buy it and push everything on the list down a spot. Your phone rings. A stranger has kidnapped your child. The stranger explains that their child has also been kidnapped by a completely different stranger. The only way to get your child back is to kidnap another child. You are now part of The Chain. Ooh. Sent shivers down my spine when I read that. The description seized my interest and held it the whole week. What I found inside was a well-crafted, thought-provoking mixture of both plot-driven and character-driven story elements. The book does a very excellent job of forcing the reader to ask questions of themselves. How far would you go? What measure do you judge people by? What reasoning could be accepted for doing something truly terrible? The book doesn't shy away from certain less than pleasant subject matter either. It addresses the trauma that some of our characters go through very realistically and from a very human aspect, which can be kinda ugly. But it helps us to connect in a very real way to their emotional state at certain points during the book. The protagonist is very well crafted as well. She is very imperfect. She makes mistakes. She goes back and forth from making rash, emotion-based decisions to making methodical, calculated decisions, much like many of us do in our day-to-day lives. The book has relatively short chapters, which change between settings very regularly, which really help to build the tension and makes for a very, very addicting read. The shorter chapter lengths and well-crafted tension also made for a more unique reading experience, in the sense that it was, rather than it being a book I couldn't put down, it was a book that I couldn't stop picking up. I found that any free moment this week, I was eagerly picking up the book and knocking out one or two of its 4 to 8 page chapters. I really don't think I've read another book quite like this. One thing I've really enjoyed lately is self-contained independent stories, and this is an excellent one. There are very few questions left unanswered, and all of the plot threads are tied up really nicely. Ending a story can be one of the harder points of writing, and I think this book handles it pretty well. Overall, this is a wonderfully crafted thriller that basically is everything you could possibly want out of the thriller genre. It's been very widely celebrated, and I highly recommend you pick up your copy of The Chain today. With a little disclaimer, I have no kids, so I don't know what this might be like for a parent to read. If you're a parent, you may have a very different reader's experience than I did. Something I've been trying is, if I can find my favorite spoiler-free line from the book, I'll close the review with that. So we go to page 262. An idea occurs to Margaret. The bad thing happens first. It's one of many thought-provoking, shiver-inducing lines throughout the novel. Get yourself a copy of The Chain today. See you next week.